Good evening and welcome to this virtual Light in the Grove host donor tribute. My name is John Cunningham, and on behalf of the National AIDS Memorial Board and staff, thank you for joining us this evening. But most importantly, thank you for your sustained support of this organization. Before we get on with the program this evening, which we've got some great talent and some very powerful messages to share, I hope you'll indulge me while I share a little bit about the journey that has brought us here from last year. In February, the AIDS Memorial Quilt completed its travel across America and arrived back in the Bay Area to its rightful home. Soon after, the quilt was so lovingly placed upon its new shelves in its home, COVID-19 arrived in our lives. As we all know, we have had quite a journey over the last period of time as we've navigated. We have worked remotely, connecting as we are tonight through Zoom, but always keeping in the forefront of our minds those that we represent as donors, but most importantly as well, all the lives lost. Soon after COVID arrived, Gerd McMullen, one of the co-founders of the Quilt, called me after our first board meeting, which was done remotely. She shared with me after hearing on the call with the board when one of our board members acknowledged that he was COVID positive, that she didn't know how she would carry on. For she remembered the dark days of the AIDS crisis when she was able to comfort young men at San Francisco General Hospital at the end of their lives. I told her to go to bed and we would talk in the morning, and we did. She woke up, she called me and said, "I know how to sew." And so at that time, she began sewing masks. And since that day, thousands and thousands of masks have been sewn and provided to frontline workers, individuals living in congruent living situations, as well as others that are in great need of the mask protection. The National AIDS Memorial, since COVID came on the scene as well, has stepped up on the stage as a national voice, connecting the two pandemics, pulling the thread and the interconnectedness of HIV and AIDS to COVID. Because as an organization, and as each of us have a responsibility to ensure that we are able to share with those that are going through their first pandemic, the messages of resilience and hope. While working remotely, we also stepped up and took the opportunity to achieve a great task that we had been putting on the back burner, and that was to rebuild and reintroduce a new web platform. It is a dynamic storytelling platform that this year is focusing 20-20-40, or 40 stories that are related to the last 4 decades of the pandemic. I believe you will find when you visit this to be incredibly moving and dynamic, because it brings to life the story of those lost, those courageous fighters, and those who are continuing to survive today. Because as a memorial, that is our obligation, is to keep the lives and the memories of those lost in our forefront of our mind. We also ensured that those that we support through the Pedro Zamora and the Mary Bowman Scholarship Program were provided with the funds needed to continue not only their academic pursuits, but also the work they did on college campuses. Because as all of us know, COVID hit college students very hard financially. We are so pleased to have seen the support that we needed to give to them continue. In 2020, we also welcomed a new gardener to the Grove, Jen Walton. Jen was so looking forward to the tradition of monthly work days. But as we all know, we have been unable to gather. And Jen, along with others from Rec and Park and apprentice gardeners, have tended to this beautiful, loving, healing sanctuary, which has become one of the most favorite spots for those seeking solace, quiet, and reflective time during COVID. You will hear later about World AIDS Day, which will take place tomorrow, and we have an incredibly dynamic program for you, and you'll hear a little bit more about that later. Before I go on and introduce Mike Ritchie and Tom Raffin, our two board chairs, we have got a very powerful message from one of our dearest friends of the National AIDS Memorial, Miss Judith Light.
Thank you, John. It has been one of my greatest honors to stand on the front lines with you and so many heroes in the fight against AIDS and for health and social justice. Bringing together leaders from both pandemics makes today an unprecedented opportunity to unite our nation in the face of adversity and empower us to face whatever the future holds. All of us have a role to play in caring for each other, and we've seen that spirit come through so many times, from first responders who put their lives on the line, and quilt makers making masks, to volunteers preparing food and neighbors caring for those in need, people helping people, communities helping communities, coming together in unity on the occasion of World AIDS Day allows us to reflect on how, for 40 years, a community stood up and took action in the face of a government's anemic response to AIDS, and how we take those lessons learned and apply them to today's struggles. Coming together in unity also allows us to see how activism can spark movements of change by demanding social and health justice and the link between other critical issues, such as racial and gender inequality and human rights, along with economic disparities. Coming together in unity allows us to be candid about how these pandemics have disproportionately impacted communities of color, as well as about how systemic racism compounds poor health outcomes and demands more effective solutions. Today, we will have an honest conversation about these important issues in the hope that we will never, ever find ourselves in this tragic place again.
Now please watch as volunteers for the first time ceremoniously unfold panels of the AIDS Memorial Quilt in the National AIDS Memorial Grove, symbolizing the joining together of these two iconic symbols of the AIDS pandemic as part of the National AIDS Memorial in perpetuity, so that the lives of those lost to AIDS are forever remembered.
Thank you, John. Good evening and welcome to the 2020 Light in the Grove virtual event. My name is Tom Raffin, and I'm the co-chair of the Board of Directors of the National AIDS Memorial. We are sad we cannot be with you personally this evening to enjoy the Light in the Grove celebration at the National AIDS Memorial Grove. However, this virtual event still brings our hearts and minds together. We want to recognize and thank you for your strong support and commitment since the National AIDS Memorial was established in 1991 and then supported through legislation sponsored by Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi in 1996. We are living in challenging times in the midst of a new worsening catastrophic viral pandemic while trying to encourage a badly divided nation to choose thoughtful courses of action to help the majority of people. During this past year, we have all struggled to make progress and help our loved ones, families, friends, and institutions. The National AIDS Memorial is strong. We brought the quilt back to the San Francisco Bay Area with the help of Speaker Pelosi. We are now the guardians of the quilt, along with all of you. When you are in the Grove in the next year, visit the expanding Circle of Friends, the Hemophilia Memorial, and the Artist Portal. My deep thanks goes to all of you, our supporters, for your continued commitment and faith to the National AIDS Memorial. We have many exciting projects and plans for the future. None of this would be possible without our talented and strong board of directors and the exceptional leadership of our executive director, John Cunningham, and his superb staff. It is now my pleasure to introduce my outstanding co-chair, Mike Ritchie.
Thank you, Tom. It's been an honor to serve side by side with you this past year. And good evening and welcome to Light in the Grove virtual event. I'm Mike Ritchie, co-chair of the board of the National AIDS Memorial. While we missed the opportunity to be with you this evening in our beautiful National AIDS Memorial Grove, we are so grateful to each of you, our family and friends, who can continue to show up to offer your ongoing commitment and support of our shared goals of remembrance, healing, and hope. You know, it is your continued commitment that has sustained us for over the past 3 decades, and through the resilience of our community, I am certain we will emerge from this current pandemic stronger than ever before. Just look at what we've been able to accomplish together over these past 30 plus years. This truly gives me hope that we will once again be able to gather in person, hopefully next year, to share the power of our love and remembrance for those who have gone before us and to continue the work ahead. It is such an honor to serve with this amazing board, staff, and advisors to do the work as defined by our mission. Without these talented, dedicated, and diverse individuals, we would not be able to deliver the results each year to lift up those who we honor, those who we remember, and those who we celebrate the gift of having shared rich and full lives, and our commitment to speak their names and to never forget. Our vision is that never again will a community be harmed because of fear, silence, discrimination, or stigma. We clearly have our work cut out for us. I want to personally thank each of you, our donors, without whom none of this would be possible. Thank you for sticking with us during this challenging time. It makes an enormous difference, and we're counting on you, as we always have, to help us achieve our goals in the future.
Thank you, Mike. Hi, everyone. My name's Annie Wilson, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors for the National AIDS Memorial. And while we can't be there tonight to witness the light that emanates from the Grove, know that it is there for you today, tomorrow, and every day as a place of remembrance, healing, and peace. KTVU has been with us at every Light in the Grove to help share our story to their viewers in the Bay Area. The team at KTVU offered to share their footage from prior Light in the Grove events as a way to relive the magic and memories of this cherished tradition. Please welcome KTVU reporter Amber Lee.
Thanks, Annie, and to the entire National AIDS Memorial family. KTVU is proud and honored to be a part of this special tribute to the many lives lost and to share in their heartfelt stories. World AIDS Day holds a special place in my heart. I come to the Grove every year so I can cover the stories of love, loss, pain, resilience, and hope. Hope that will carry us into a brighter future. I want to thank everyone for their support of the National AIDS Memorial, and a special thank you to the entire team of volunteers, staff, and board members for their tireless work year-round so we can never forget. Now, I hope you'll enjoy this tribute, a collection of videos of Light in the Grove from years past. We hope that you'll be able to join us again next year in person for this special remembrance held here in the enchanted and beautiful Memorial Grove.
We have traveled here every year for the past 20-some years to be part of this and to remember Mark.
An annual pilgrimage for Mark Lambert, who died of AIDS at 41. His name among thousands engraved here. His mom describes him as perfect. 25 years do not matter. Behind every name, every inscription, there is a story. As dancers moved among the trees and supporters packed this fundraising gala, stories were shared. This group lost parents to HIV.
So many of us were told to not share stories of our parents, to hide who they were, and we grew up feeling very isolated around how they died.
And now they have a website and Facebook page, a community.
I'm 32 years living with this virus, and I can never get tired of fighting.
Mike Shriver chairs the memorial board.
32 years ago, for me to think that I was going to live to be 30 years old was unfathomable, and I'm 55 now.
Shriver says San Francisco remains the model for treatment and prevention. 221 new infections last year, an all-time low. But he worries about complacency.
It's not over. It's not done. I really need to just keep pushing.
Because in the U.S., more than 1 million people are living with HIV, and many more are positive but untested.
The data for black gay men in the South, the data for African American women, the data for trans women, we have to do better.
The epidemic is always real to those it touched. And traveling from the East Coast, Mark Lambert's loved ones say this event is one they knew they'd never miss from the very start.
Tears and sorrow, but we realized we weren't alone, and the other names and the others who also had lost.
Well, I think this is so beautiful the way they do it. It's such a tribute to everyone.
Hope for when things go your way and when they don't. All goodness is not lost, there's hope that empathy and love prevail. Looking back on history, the losses and the victories, the trials and errors of humans past. Nothing ever is forever, most things make a turn for better. Love is real and we'll keep pushing on. You're not alone, we're millions of voices strong. With hope, yeah, hope, and hope that your neighbors all in red aren't so hateful, they are just misled. Hope the refugee from down the street finds some solace from the hell she flees. And hope that if you get sick you won't go broke. And hope that if your skin is dark you won't get choked. And hope that our leadership will care. 200,000 dead, he's well aware, but it is what it is. Looking back on history, the losses and the victories, the trials and errors of humans past, we've learned nothing ever is forever, most things make a turn for better. Love is real and we'll keep pushing on. You're not alone, we're millions, voices strong. With hope, yeah,
Thank you so much, Amber. It's just not the same to not have you with us again this year as you have been year in and year out. And thank you, KTVU, for taking us on that beautiful journey through the years of Light in the Grove. And although we cannot be together in that beautiful sanctuary and space, we were treated to what was a great, great, beautiful tribute. I also just cannot tell you how pleased we are to have experienced the music of the song Hope, which was written the day that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were elected to the president and vice presidency. It was written by Alita McKeon. Alita, thank you so much for providing that to us for this evening. This year, we lost a dear friend of the National AIDS Memorial, and also most specifically to Light in the Grove. Randy Schiller was, for the first 5 years of Light in the Grove, responsible for all the beautiful lighting that took place in the Redwood Grove and the journey down and within the tent. His power and dynamic spirit, coming together to donate a lot of his time, bringing his energy into this space, has been incredibly powerful. And it was so heartbreaking to have lost him just a short few months back. Randy will forever be remembered with a beautiful boulder right in the middle of the Redwood Grove, where he put so much of his loving talent. Randy, we'll never forget you, and we thank you for inspiring us every day. One of Randy's dear friends, who he brought actually to Light in the Grove last year, and who he had her name engraved in the memorial, is Sharon McKnight. And Sharon would like to share a few words with you about Randy and her love for him, as well as she will then, as only Sharon McKnight can do, entertain us with one of her beautiful and fun songs. Sharon?
Here's to my pal Randy Schiller, a sound man in more ways than one. I miss him dearly, and here's to Randy. So I love the taste of napalm in the morning. Before I was born, a lot of things happened. A lot of things happened, but not to me. Before I was born, a lot of things happened that I didn't happen to see. And after I'm gone, a lot of things will happen. A lot of things will happen, oh Lord, amen. Yes, after I'm gone, a lot of things will happen that I won't know about then. But in the meantime, say all they gave me was the in-between time for some loving and some living. Gotta do it in the time I'm given. Meantime may mean nothing to posterity, but in the meantime, doing nothing sure is a worrying me. Before I was born, a lot of love happened. A lot of love happened, I'm well aware. Before I was born, a lot of love happened that I didn't happen to share. And after I'm gone, a lot of love will happen. A lot of love will happen, there is no doubt. Yes, after I'm gone, a lot of love will happen that I'll be doing without. But in the meantime, say all they gave me was the in-between time for some loving and some living. I gotta do it in the time I'm given. Meantime may mean nothing to posterity, but in the meantime, doing nothing sure is so worrying. How time is hurrying by. Meantime sure is the worrying me. See ya.
Sharon, as powerful as ever, whether it's at the Richmond Urban AIDS Foundation events or at other cabaret shows, unbelievable. And yes, we will see you again next year, hopefully on stage in the tent at Light in the Grove. I appreciate your being with us tonight. And it was, as I said, it's as powerful as ever. Earlier, I had the opportunity to spend some time with Cleve Jones to talk a little bit about the National AIDS Memorial, the AIDS Memorial Quilt, and it joining together and being now the same part of the same family. As I said last year at the Library of Congress, I've sort of seen the quilt and the Grove as two siblings that went their separate ways in their adolescent years and have now returned home together to continue to do the powerful work around HIV and AIDS and social justice and the like. So what I would like to do is I'm going to have Cleve step in just a sec and share some of his remarks. But before I do that, the quilt came home this year, and we were so pleased and so excited, and we had great plans to take the quilt back out across America and around the world, to let it do its powerful teaching of communities, of what it means to be a member of society and how to improve the community and what it means to be an activist. But unfortunately, COVID came on the scene and we were unable to do so, and the quilt has not gone out. My team, under the leadership and creativity of Kevin Herglotz, has worked powerfully together and have created a 50-state virtual quilt exhibition for World AIDS Day, and will run through March. You can find your way there by going to our website, aidsmemorial.org. You will find each of the states and territories listed, and there are nearly 150 exhibitions that are done from around the country, which will touch the hearts and souls of community members around. So now I'd like to share some of the conversation that Cleve and I had earlier.
To all of you from Guerneville, California, where I've been sheltered in place since the first week of March. It's hard to believe that a year has passed since last we gathered at the Grove and were able to see each other and embrace and hug and to not only observe World AIDS Day, but to celebrate the return of the AIDS Memorial quilt to San Francisco and the loving care of the AIDS Memorial Grove. I'm deeply grateful to all of you who have continued the work and made it possible for the quilt to return and be part of such a unique and remarkable testament to the strength of San Francisco, the community that we have built, and our determination to move forward into what I hope will be a much better year. Like all of you, I'm sure, I have faced challenges this year. It's been frightening, it's been lonely. There have been times when I felt real terror, but somehow we've managed to get through it. A new year is coming, a new year in which I see a great deal of hope. So I want to really express my gratitude to all of you who have been so generous with your contributions, your work, your love. It makes my heart feel very strong and grateful to be part of such a unique and wonderful community of people. So I so much wish I could be with you next year. I very much want to remember and thank the late Representative John Lewis and our Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, for the work that they did to make it possible for the quilt to be returned to San Francisco, and really to be the matchmakers that brought our two organizations together into one. It's so appropriate, it's so perfect. And for the rest of my life, I will be grateful to John Cunningham and the entire team at the National AIDS Memorial for having the vision of bringing us together and taking responsibility to care for this enormous work of art. Not just the fabric, but the archives, the 250,000 pieces that accompany the quilt, which are now in the custody of the Library of Congress. It means that what we experienced during that time, not just here in San Francisco, but around the world, will be able, archivists, scholars, researchers of the future will be able to study it, and through the quilt, gain a really remarkable window in which to see how we experienced that pandemic. I think it's also very important to understand that the lessons we learned in fighting HIV/AIDS apparently were not learned by all and have been forgotten by many. And I think that in this age of COVID-19, we who were on the front lines of the previous pandemic have important stories and information and knowledge that we need to share with the world. And I'm grateful and proud that the National AIDS Memorial has really stepped up and accepted that responsibility. It's very important. I, as you, pray for a vaccine, but we all know that we still have many months, if not years, of struggle ahead of us. So I think that we who've been there before have a great deal to offer. I was mentored by Harvey Milk, who famously told us, you got to give him hope. And that's far more than a slogan. Without hope, it really becomes impossible to sustain these struggles. And so much of what we fight for cannot be won in weeks or months or even years. Really, we're required to make a lifelong commitment to our larger goals of peace and social justice and to save the planet. And for me, as I have gotten older, I've come to understand even more just how important it is to have hope, to believe in that hope, to really in your core believe that you have the power to change the world. And we who have been doing this work, we who fought HIV/AIDS, we who are fighting COVID-19, we know we have power, and it's power that is derived from hope and a belief that we will see a better day, and soon, I hope. So let's toast that to hope. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cleve. You are indeed one of the great gifts that came with the quilt coming into the Grove family, and I appreciate the relationship and partnership that we have been developing. As I now go forward, and I would like to introduce this year's World AIDS Day chair and board member, Antoine Matthews, who will share some of what we'll be seeing tomorrow. And following that, we will be treated to a sneak peek from the Surviving Voices series of interviews of individuals that are long-term survivors and individuals that have been on the front lines of the AIDS crisis and their reflections as we stand today in the second pandemic.
My name is Antoine Matthews, board member and chair for this year's World AIDS Day. I'm so grateful that even during this pandemic, we are able to gather once again for this Light in the Grove tribute. While we're not in person, we are together in spirit. I hope you join us tomorrow for our annual World AIDS Day commemoration. We will be bringing together leaders who have been on the front lines of the AIDS and COVID-19 pandemics. Through these distinguished speakers, video storytelling, and musical tributes, our World AIDS Day formal is meant to bring our nation together, to honor the lives lost, the survivors, the activism, and the heroes. So please join us tomorrow for what will be a powerful and timely program. We want to give you a little preview. I hope it leaves you inspired. Thank you.
The first week probably was the hardest.
I've been sheltered in place for about 5 weeks, getting to the 6th week now.
Maybe we're in week 7. It all begins to blur.
I've been sheltered in place here in Atlanta for 2 months.
I'm losing my time and space, but I believe I'm in week 14 of the shelter in place for COVID-19.
I feel like it's becoming a new reality for me.
Now it's getting exhausting and overwhelming. I feel trapped.
And I miss the contact, the physical contact with other people.
I thought that most people only have to go through one pandemic in their lifetime.
And sometimes I think to myself, I'm not going to get coronavirus. But then I also thought that I would never get HIV either.
And my immune system is very compromised.
It reminds me a lot of when I was first diagnosed and I didn't know my T cell count yet.
For long-term survivors, there's a lot of PTSD coming up around the early days of the epidemic.
We all, I think, at least I have a little box inside of a box inside of a box where I keep the late 80s. And this is opening up the box, and I'm thinking about people in a way I haven't thought about them since they died 30 years ago.
There is an incredible amount of unresolved grief. Incredible amount of unresolved grief.
A lot of what's going on right now feels familiar yet completely different.
I think the two are like apples and oranges.
It's not to compare the experiences as it is
the sort of reminder of the extent to which those of us who were living those years really were living in another country, fighting a war no one saw.
Welcome to my world. This is the world that we've been living in.
It went on for us for 10 years.
Because COVID is about breathing, and that's something that everybody does, I think the stigma is different.
The people who get COVID-19 are not being cast as villains.
People didn't come to the rescue of people living with HIV back then. We only had each other.
I also believe that what many of us experienced during the 80s and then early 90s actually better prepared us for what we're going through right now than the general population.
Our trauma is our resilience.
We've learned that how we get through an epidemic like this is to depend on one another.
It serves us well to this day.
Powerful that was to hear those authentic voices that have spanned 40 years from one pandemic to another, sharing their own personal experiences around HIV and AIDS and the journey that they've had, as well as COVID today. I hope you were all touched. I want to thank our board and staff that have helped make the Surviving Voices series possible, as well as the creative genius of Jorg Folkley, who has been with us from the start of that series. I also hope that you were as touched as I was by the preview of the 50-state quilt virtual exhibition, which will premiere tomorrow during World AIDS Day. As we know, COVID did not allow us to gather, and therefore we were unable to do what we normally would do, which would be to send the quilt across the nation and have thousands of displays. But we, as a team, and most specifically the quilt team, were able to pull together this virtual exhibition, which we believe will not only be powerful on World AIDS Day, but will send us into the future with great strength when we are able to gather. I also want to thank the creative genius of Mike Fung, who worked tirelessly to help bring this together. As you can see when you visit this, indeed, it has touched every corner of our nation with all sorts of different organizations and entities that have had displays curated for them, for their own community. So again, thank you all for that. Before we go on, again, I want to remind you to please support us by texting HOPE 2020 to 56512. Again, that's HOPE 2020 to 56512. Again, I'm John Cunningham. I want to thank all of you for being with us tonight and for all the support that you've shown over the years. I also now want to introduce our board member, Lonnie Payne, who will kick off a beautiful toast from all of our staff, our board, and those who help make all of our work possible. Again, thank you.
Good evening. On behalf of the Board of Directors and the staff of the National AIDS Memorial, I would like to thank you for your ongoing support of our organization. Some of you have been with us from the start. Others have been introduced to our organization by events such as our Light in the Grove and World AIDS Day programs. Your continued support sustains our vision. Never again will a community be harmed because of fear, silence, discrimination, or stigma. We salute you.
We must fight for health justice and against hate.
So, cheers, and thank you so much for all the work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone at National AIDS Memorial for welcoming the quilt with such wonderful open arms. You have made a challenging year a much smoother transition. Cheers.
This has been a very difficult year for many of us, and we do hope to see you again in the Grove next year. Stay well, stay healthy, and thank you for all that you've done. Cheers.
To our family and friends who are the heart of the National AIDS Memorial, I wish to express my deepest gratitude and appreciation for your constant and generous support of our mission. Cheers.
Though we are not together in person, we know that we're all together in unity and love. So cheers.
I just really want to thank John Cunningham, Steve Sagasser, and Matt Kennedy for providing me with such a beautiful circle of love and inspiration.
I just want to express my deep gratitude for your continued support of our work and assure you that we remain as committed as ever to caring for our beloved AIDS Memorial Grove, the AIDS Memorial Quilt, and the advancement of our mission and programs.
I want to raise my glass to thank all of our supporters who support the incredible work of the National AIDS Memorial. We look forward to being back together in the Grove soon. Until then, wishing you good health and strong spirit.
Staff, we miss you, we love you, and thank you for being here and your support of the Grove. It's been a difficult year, but we are stronger together, and I hope to see you under the light of the Grove next year. Cheers.
Hi, I'd like to thank all the donors for making it possible for us to do displays that are safe during this time. But not more importantly, but I also want to thank from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of the hearts of all the boys on the quilt to the board and staff of the Names Project and the Grove for bringing us back home. Thank you.
With cautious optimism and a whole lot of hope, I'd like to toast to 2021 and the months to come. I remember saying last New Year's that 2020 was going to be my year, but I hope that 2021 will be our year. I think and I hope that we have a lot of good coming to us all. And cheers.
Hi, friends of the Grove. I'm so disappointed that we will not be able to gather in person tonight for Light in the Grove, but I hope that you enjoy our virtual programming. Thank you for all of your support. Cheers.
I wish we could all be together tonight in the Grove, but because of you, and for the first time ever, we're going to be able to offer remembrance and hope and healing to the entire nation this World AIDS Day. Here's to 2020 being behind us and to a safe and healthy 2021 for all of us.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your support. I will miss you all on the dance floor this year. I hope you'll miss me too. But here's to next year where we get to see each other and all be in the Grove together for Light in the Grove.
Thank you all very much for this generous support and for being here tonight. I'm sorry we couldn't be together in the Grove, but I'm looking forward to seeing you all again next year. Take care.
I'd like to express my deepest gratitude to the whole National AIDS Memorial community who together made the light in the Grove shine even brighter this year through what would otherwise be a very dark time.
Thank you to all of you bright lights. Thank you for your loyalty, your love, and your largesse, helping us keep the lights on through this difficult year. May we all sparkle together next year.
Thank you so much for your support as we honor the fallen while fighting for the living every day. Cheers.
I'm very touched that we can all be together tonight in absentia. I look forward to us being together in person in 2021, and the sooner the better. Thank you.
Each of you inspires me to continue to do good. It's been a transformational year for our organization as we have met the challenges that we have faced together. I'm wishing you hope, health, and happiness as we put 2020 behind us and usher in a new era in 2021.
Think about it. I just want to do a big cheers to everybody. I miss you. Wish we were all together in the Grove, and all the best for 2021.
AIDS Memorial. Here's a toast to your generosity. Thank you for all you do. And to you and yours, we hope you have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you for all that you do. Here's to community in the face of loss. L'chaim.
Hi, I'm Peter with lots of love to the National AIDS Memorial. Here's my toast to you.
And I'll invite you all to come tomorrow for our World AIDS Day commemoration event.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. It really means a lot. And we love you. Really, mean it.
Here we go.
Cheers!
Cheers!
Hope for when things go your way and when they don't. All goodness is not lost, there's hope that empathy and love prevail. Looking back on history, the losses and the victories, the trials and errors of humans past. Nothing ever is forever, most things make a turn for better. Love is real and we'll keep pushing on. You're not alone, we're millions of voices strong. With hope, yeah, hope, and hope that your neighbors all in red aren't so hateful, they are just misled. Hope the refugee from down the street finds some solace from the hell she flees. And hope that if you get sick you won't go broke. And hope that if your skin is dark you won't get choked. And hope that our leadership will care. 200,000 dead, he's well aware, but it is what it is. Looking back on history, the losses and the victories, the trials and errors of humans past, we've learned nothing ever is forever, most things make a turn for better. Love is real and we'll keep pushing on. You're not alone, we're millions, voices strong.